Wow, so there was a lot of good television on tonight. Game of Thrones, the long-awaited Battle of the Bastards, and Game 7 of the NBA Finals, which I'm sure very few of you actually care about. But it was time to bang on a commentary, so this is going to be one that's going for more of a cinematic style. You may notice Big Bird is on the field. That is Sarthorael the Ever-Watcher, Lord of Change, the greater demon of Tzeentch, and one of the most prolific spellcasters in tabletop and Warhammer lore. Get a nice look at the Chaos Knights with their fire right now. The Lord of Change has access to the lore of Tzeentch and the lore of Metal in the 8th edition. Unfortunately, doesn't have access to Eldritch Fire or Tzeentch spells in the game at the moment. Currently only has access to the lore of Metal, although I would expect to see the Chaos-specific lores of Magic at some point in the trilogy, maybe sooner rather than later. Quick aside, I do have a question for you guys. If there's one spell you're looking forward to most in the entire trilogy, which do you really want to see brought to life from the tabletop game? It's an easy call for me. I think the dreaded 13th spell that Skaven Greyseers can field, if implemented correctly by Creative Assembly, will be the most awesome spell we could probably see in the game. It effectively turns a damaged enemy infantry unit into your own unit of clan rats, which would be awesome seeing a block of Chaos Warriors grow tails, and it'd be very enjoyable. But right now, I'm playing against Oakley High Def. You guys know him from THFE Productions, and I'm playing as Chaos. He is playing as Mousillon, and that means he's playing as Undead Bretonnians. It's basically Vampire Count's roster reskinned to look like all peasanty and have gout, and just a dash of Undead Knights in there as well. Gorebeast Chariots going to be coming up the center and running through these zombies and skeletons. As with a lot of Chaos units, currently very overpriced for what they do. And honestly, the running animation for them is a little bit wonky. I do like their animations, their attack animations are cool, but for a monster that big, kind of like that right there is like what I would expect from them. But when they run, you might notice that they run kind of daintily. It's not like a rampaging gorilla like you kind of expect to see from something that monstrous. So I wish they kind of reworked that running animation a bit. It's kind of a small gripe, but bunch of zombies from Oakley coming in now to reinforce, and I love the Mousillon aesthetic. It's just amazing. Like Undead Bretonnians are oh, look at that charge from the Chaos Knights. That is brutal stuff right there. So yeah, I mean, Mousillon, if you haven't seen them, I did a video on them about a week ago. You should go back and watch that full replay. It shows a lot of their units closely, but you'll see plenty of them in this game as well. And so what we've done here is basically just send forward, Oakley sent forward some of his wheat and chaff to just get run over by the Gorebeast Chariots, which really don't get a whole lot of love. Like I said, they are overpriced. Same with the Chaos Chariot and a lot of other Chaos troops. They don't get played a whole lot just because they're really expensive and generally don't pay for themselves. But if you keep them moving in a fight against skellies and zombies and stuff, you can obviously pull through and do quite a bit of damage with a unit like this. So they've racked up quite a lot so far, and then Chaos Knights went in. Black Knights, the Mousillon Bretonnian dudes coming in from the rear, are going to get a charge into my Gorebeast Chariot, which is not the engagement Gorebeast Chariots want. They really need to be pulling through enemy troops to do their damage, and they're much, much more effective against enemy infantry, as you would expect. You go back to Rome 2, you look at Chariots in that game. Sides Chariots are amazing against infantry, but they can get tied down very easily by heavy cav. It's the same in this game. Not going to be able to pull through that engagement super easy. They will probably drop to Black Knights. Hell Cannon firing in. Need to be careful with that. And now Sartorial the Ever-Watcher, the Lord of Change, is coming up. He's going to drop Final Transmutation on the entire engagement. I did not overcast it, but it is going to do quite a bit of damage here. One of the most useful Lore of Metal spells in the game. Lore of Metal is much better for debuffing and buffing your troops. I think from a damage perspective, it's not very good. If you look at Searing Doom or some of these other spells that in the tabletop, I believe, were quite efficient and effective against doing damage to high armored targets. In this game, the bombardment spells are just a complete joke. So I'm going to be kind of... It makes the caster, it makes the Lord of Change not anywhere near as efficient as he probably would be in the tabletop, just because a lot of these spells are just going to be completely focused on buffing my guys, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But like I said, Final Transmutation is one of those spells. Nice kill from the Manticore there. That will do some damage over time. If you drop that in a good engagement, you can do quite a bit of damage. So I've hurt a lot of his zombies and his Black Knights over there who are now committed. And we get a good look at the skeletons in the back. Good look at the Varghulfs here as well. And in the back some Crypt Horrors, which are not uniquely skinned for Mousillon. Oakley was saying he wanted to see some nice little Bretonnian hats on those guys, which would have been a nice little touch. Graveguard here. Knights of the Realm dismounted and undead. Awesome stuff. and I think a Vampire Lady, and maybe the Master Necromancer are in there as well. I am going to cast Searing Doom on this engagement, which is going to do absolutely nothing, because the bombardment spell is a complete joke, but it looks cool, so it makes me feel like the Lord of Change is actually doing something. And I do think Lore of Metal is one of the weaker lores currently in the game. The buffing stuff is nice, but all lores in the game have buff spells, and most of them do the exact same thing. It's like plus 36 melee attack, plus 32 melee defense, that kind of thing. So when pretty much every lore in the game has access to that, the ones that stand out, of course, are Lore of Death and the Lore of Light, the magic missiles, and the single target DPS spells are really where it's all about. Pulling some of my Chaos Knights out of that engagement, wanted to see if I can maybe send them back in another location, and now Sartorial is going to get into the thick of things for a bit. He has some really cool animations in this game, and he's going to toss that Vampire Lady like 30 feet, which is awesome. And I'm telling you right now, this Lord of Change is going to do work this battle. He is going to make a big impact on it, so definitely keep your eye on him. But so far, I've been able to clear up the wheat and chaff, and now Oakley's second wave is coming in. 2 black coaches flanking the skeleton warriors that are moving up to the center now, driven by Karen Race. Again, not a unit you get to see too often, overpriced for what it can do. Easily gets surrounded and crumbles. And the buff spells it has just simply don't give it the killing power it needs to function properly. So currently just a flavor unit, and you get some beautiful looks at those skeleton warriors marching up in lockstep, all Jason the Argonaut style. Again, I'm going to say it pretty much every time I see it. I love that animation. Good work from CA there. So they're getting ready to engage my second wave of Chaos Warriors. The first one was a decent engagement, but I just killed, again, the wheat and chaff. It was zombies and a little bit of skeletons. Sartorial moving around, getting ready to engage some stuff. And now Forsaken will go up the center into these skeleton warriors, who still have the support from the Master Necromancer and from the Vampire Lady. Tzeentch, Lord of Change, the big bird, getting ready to do some work in melee combat. Would be loved shooting some flame balls right now. That'd be awesome. But over on the left-hand side, now engaging some Black Knights that Oakley had hidden in the woods on his right flank. This is going to be a tough engagement. Those are the Black Knights with lances and barding. They got a downhill charge into my Chaos Knights. They will do quite a bit of damage. And I saw these Skeleton Warriors, and they looked like such a juicy target here. So I'm going to try to engage them with my Gorebeast Chariot, the remnants of those. But the White King is actually going to be able to tie them down, prevent them from getting a charge into the flank of the skeletons, and now my Chaos Knights and the Chaos Lord on a Manticore, or the Chaos Hero, Exalted Hero, on a Manticore, are going to come in and try to tie down the White King and finish him off. Reskinned Bretonnian Paladin, who is a undead white. But now Sarthorial, Lord of Change, is coming over, getting ready to stomp into the side of this engagement. I'm not sure what I'm casting here, we'll see in a second. Might be Plague of Rust. Might be Final Transmutation. I don't remember what I was casting here, and I can't tell just by looking at it. But anyway, I think it might be Final Transmutation. Yeah, it is. It's Final Transmutation. Gonna do quite a bit of damage to these Black Knights with lances and barding. And now I'm gonna send them into the flank and try to help out these Chaos Knights, who are outnumbered over here. And he's gonna start laying the hurt on these Black Knights. The Lord of Change has some really cool animations. He has this one that you'll get to see a little bit later on. Maybe in this engagement, actually. He'll jump up in the air and slam his staff down, and purple lightning will just shoot out in all directions. That stuff's really cool. He does a lot of stuff like that, so they obviously put a lot of love into adding him. He's the only Chaos Demon currently in the game, I think. Off the top of my head, I can't think of any other demons in the game, but he'll do work. And my Exalted Hero, the Manticore, is going to go down, which sucks. I didn't realize that he got tied down by all those Crypt Horrors. This is where Oakley's army is going to start getting really scary. He has a huge blob of Crypt Horrors. And as you guys know, I've talked about it many times on stream, in the ESL tournaments, those Crypt Horrors will do work. They're one of the most horrifying units currently in the game. Only cost 800 gold. They have 40 armor, which isn't amazing, but everything else about them is. And honestly, 40 armor is enough for what they do. So they have regeneration, they have poison attacks, which hurt your stamina and hurt your melee capabilities. They have AoE attacks, they have really high armor piercing and weapon damage. You get just so much in that little package for 800 gold. So yeah, when you operate them in big blobs like this, he has 3 or 4 of them, they're going to be a problem. Sartorial is getting surrounded, but we're crumbling these Black Knights over on this side. I've actually taken about half HP off of the Lord of Change, which sucks. There it is. That's the attack I was talking about. That stuff is sweet, especially when it hits an infantry blob. They'll get sent flying. I'm not sure, I don't think that spell, or that attack actually reflects any spell that's in the tabletop game, but either way, it looks amazing. And we are having a tough engagement here. Battle's is still pretty even. Vampire Lady running away from some of the chosen halberds, or Chaos Warriors with halberds. And in the center, bunch of my Forsaken engaging the Skeleton Warriors. Again, should not be a tough engagement, but he has Master Necromancer backing them up. Doing quite a bit of Invocation of the Heck, casting some of that stuff in the melee in the center. Now the Varghulf, he has 2 of those on the field as well. He's coming over. And I think he and Lord of Change are about to get in a little bit of a scuffle. We'll see how that goes. Should be interesting. But really, the thing I'm worried about over here is this huge block of Crypt Horrors and the Varghulfs that are coming in to back them up. So I'm going to cast Plague of Rust debuff on the Crypt Horrors, I believe. I think that's what that green effect was. And now Varghulf is... Oh my god, Lord of Change is going to punch him in the face. Bitch, get out of here! I don't like you. So he's going to smack him in the face, send him flying. Not going to do a whole lot of damage there. And now he's going to get stun locked a bit. And now this is scary. Lord of Change is very low at this point. He took a lot of damage in that engagement with the Black Knights. So I'm going to have to keep him out of melee. You can see me turning around and then I notice it. And I'm like, no, I don't want any more of this. Varghulf 1-on-1 will trounce Lord of Change in melee, I would think. Maybe not if they're both full HP, but Lord of Change is way too low at this point. So definitely losing this engagement, but trying to back it up with some of my halberds. And I'm also moving my Chaos Spawn. The big Chaos Spawn, they're just so goofy looking, but they are really good. Probably one of the only cost-effective monsters for Chaos. Cost 1,000, they are unbreakable, really high charge bonus and weapon damage, good armor piercing, so they can do quite a bit of work over there, so I'll use them to tie down that engagement. Black Coach crumbling, banner flashing right now. That should probably not get back into the engagement anytime soon if he doesn't want to lose it. And now Forsaken and the halberds moving up to this final engagement with the vampire counts with Mousillon. In the back, Oakley had a really nice play. I didn't really catch it on camera. He had 2 direwolves with Vanguard deployment in the back. They killed my Hell Cannon when I wasn't looking. Wasn't playing on debug cam. I can't tell you how efficient and effective that camera is. It's extremely good if you're trying to play multiplayer. Helps your micro a lot. I didn't have it on though, so he got a really nice flanking charge in the rear of my Hell Cannons. Managed to kill them, and that was unfortunate. So lost 1,100 or 1,200 talents there for free, and now his direwolves are free in the back to maybe get some more charges off of my Chaos Warriors. But now Warriors of Chaos and a couple chosen moving in to engage. Kind of a little bit of a wonky charge there, not amazing. But this will be tough, because Graveguard in general, they'll go relatively even with Chaos Warriors. I'm not sure exactly how those engagements go, but the Graveguard with great weapons will munch on a regular Chaos Warrior unit. So I'm going to have to be very careful of those that he has in the back. Again, the Lord of Change still stomping around, doing some damage. Or he's about to start doing some damage. I think I'm about to cast a bombardment spell on him. Again, there's just very little use I have with my Winds of Magic here. I can go for those buff spells. I can go for Plague of Rust, that kind of thing. It might win me an engagement here or there, but they just don't look that awesome. And like I said, me and Oakley were going for more of a cinematic style replay this game. So I think I might go for the bombardment instead. Those Graveguard with great weapons chasing after my Chaos Warriors are going to get a good charge off. And in the center, it's going to be pretty even with these regular Graveguard against my Chaos Warriors. And again, even the Chaos Warriors, kind of overpriced for what they do, 800 gold. Not one of the best mainline infantry units for Chaos, which is quite weird. They should be better than they are currently, I would think. But yeah, the bombardment spell is going to come down. Searing Doom going to hit the Graveguard, and you're like, yeah, oh, look how much damage that does. Amazing. Bombardment spell is fantastic. How much damage? About a couple hundred. They've got 8,000 HP, probably did about 150 damage to them, so definitely worth that 8 Winds of Magic or whatever the hell it costs to field that spell. Not very efficient, and now Oakley's going to do a great move here and pull his Graveguard through the center. Left a little bit of a gap in my lines. He's going to get a nice rear charge off into the back. And things are looking a little bit dire for me at this point. He just simply has way more elite blocks of infantry on the field at this point, and most of my units that could go for those game-deciding rear charges are tied up over here and almost completely depleted. They might not be able to make it over to this engagement in time, so Chaos Warriors and the remnants of my Forsaken left alone to contend with these Graveguard and Graveguard with great weapons, which isn't necessarily going to go well for them. I mean, Graveguard with great weapons will, like I said, munch on Chaos Warriors one-on-one. So I have to do something to turn these engagements in my favor. And what do you think that's going to come down to? Well, with my Chaos Warriors kind of floundering here, having a really tough time in these engagements. Sarthorial, the Lord of Change, is going to have to go into melee and start going to work. He's low HP, but he does have AoE attacks. He can do quite a bit of damage. If I get a rear charge off or a flanking charge off onto some of these Graveguard, I could start some kind of mass rout. So here he comes. He's going to fly into melee, and he's going to start laying the smackdown on these whites. And every time he attacks, he's going to be sending them flying really far. That attack right there going to kill at least 5 or 10 guys. And he's going to be doing a lot of HP damage here. So what I need to do is just keep him supported, keep any Chaos Warriors I have alive, keep them close by, and hope they absorb some of the attacks from the Graveguard so that the Lord of Change himself isn't going to get attacked. Again, that lightning attack going off looks so badass. And he's going to be stomping on them. Like, he's doing a lot of damage right now. So what I'm going to try to do to turn this fight in my favor is just cycle charge with him and like keep getting his AoE attacks off, and before he has the time to get around, and oh, here it comes again. Before he has time to get like all his Graveguard around me and surround and attack him with that armor piercing damage, just kind of keep knocking and busting up their formation, and then pull them out and go for another charge. So again, my Chaos Warriors are routing at this point. It's not good, and things are looking definitely very dire, but Sartorial up to like 50 kills right now. And again, he should be going for another rear charge very soon. Here he comes. Gonna fly into an attack, and the Raven Lord is gonna do some more damage here. So again, keep doing those cycle charges. Keep doing as much as I possibly can in melee with him. And he might be able to start some crumbling over here. And it's gonna be tough though, because the Master Necromancer is not dead. I honestly don't think he is. Yeah, I see him in the back there. He's still buffing up his dudes. Balance bar is very much in Oakley's favor. It is pretty much the Lord of Change at this point, and he's going to do so much work just smacking people with that Rod of Tzeentch, surrounded by the Undead Bretonnians. And some cool little trivia here. Graveguard aren't raised by Necromancers and controlled by them. They're actually wights, which means they have free will and the ability to control their own motions in combat, or they have some semblance of free will. As we get a great look at the Chaos Spawn charging in here, going to send those Graveguard flying. Awesome stuff right there. But basically, skeletons and zombies are these mindless automatons that get raised by necromancers. But whites fight way better than them not just because of their better equipment, but they have this dark magic that awakens and sustains them, that swirls around their ancient tombs, and they don't necessarily retain their old personalities from before when they died, but they do have some control over their own motions, which makes them really scary in combat. And you give them armor-piercing weapons and some rusty Bretonnian armor, and you're going to be in a world of hurt. And Chaos has definitely discovered that this battle. They have gotten smashed in the mouth by this Vampire Count's army. Mousillon is going to take this one. Oakley High Def is going to push back the tides of chaos. But the Lord of Change, Sarthorael the Ever-Watcher, is not one to go down without a fight. Still casting that purple lightning. Still sending Graveguard flying everywhere. Doing so much damage here with his last stand. And he is just an absolute monster, which it's interesting because the Lord of Change is more of a caster, and he definitely did some casting this battle, but he's probably done a lot more damage in melee combat than he did with his final transmutation. So he's going to make his last stand here, surrounded by the armor-piercing weapons of the Graveguard. And after a couple more smacks, he is going to go down to an attack. One more purple lightning, one more attack to send them flying. Just as planned. It's over. Sartorial is down, and Chaos loses. Vampire Counts take the field. Great play from Oakley there. Really enjoyable cinematic battle. Got to show off some of those units that you don't get to see too often. The Black Coach and the Gorebeast Chariots, that kind of thing. And of course, many of you guys probably haven't seen Sartorial too much. There's a mod on the workshop for it, but I'll leave that in the description. Hope you guys enjoyed. See you next time.